What does a charitable planner meeting with a donor have in common with an FBI agent or an emergency physician? Well, for all of them, astute observation is critical to professional success. Amy Herman designed, developed, and conducts all sessions of the Art of Perception. This uses works of art to improve perception and communication skills. And she's joining me today with Jenny Papageorge with the Community Foundation of Western Mass, and she's also president of the Women in Philanthropy Conference, where Amy will be speaking. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. So I'm very excited to talk about this topic, the art of perception. Yes. We're going to start. Amy, what is it?
I know. That's the big question. Right. The Art of Perception is a program, it's a professional training program for people across the professional spectrum to rethink their observation, perception, and communication skills. But the sort of innovative thing about the program is I use art as the vehicle to get everyone to rethink how it is that they communicate. You don't have to have any prior knowledge of art, even any interest in art. I'm using art as the data to rethink how you see the world.
Now, you have previous knowledge of art because that's where you...
That's right.
I mean, that's where you come from. Yes. So talk about the art world is meeting the perception world. And if you don't have to have that knowledge of art, how does that help?
Well, I combined my two disciplines. I'm a recovering lawyer and an art historian. So I put those fields together to try to come up with a program that was useful for people in all different professions. The program started by training medical students. And we brought medical students to the museum to get them to be better observers of their patients by teaching them how to analyze works of art. Without reading labels, without thinking about who painted this or what period, what do I see in front of me? So that when they went back to working with patients, instead of just picking up the chart, they'd actually look at their patients. So after doing that for a few years, someone said, why aren't you doing this for other fields? So I said, well, what fields could use it? And they said, what about homicide detectives? And I thought, that's great. So I called the New York City Police Department and they signed on.
Now, police to women. Jenny, what was it that you saw with Amy Herman that you wanted to present to the Women in Philanthropy Conference coming up soon? And we'll talk the details about that, but what was it about Amy Herman and the Art of Perception that really drew you to that?
Well, as philanthropy professionals, we're always, rethinking how we see things. And, also a really important trait of a philanthropy professional is the ability to listen. And, having Amy's program and being able to, work on our perception and communication skills is really helpful to fund development professionals and other professionals as well.
How important, Amy, would you say perception is for women?
Perception is important for everyone, but especially women, not only in the professional world, but as parents, as community leaders, as members of a community. As Jenny said, it's not only about how we see the world, but it's how we take the world in. How do we listen? How do we communicate? How does the world see us? Are we easy to talk to? Are we difficult to talk to? And in a business context and in a leadership context, perception is 90% of the field. Knowing who you're working with, how well they work, and how well you can communicate in that world, that's really what are the primary objectives of my course, is to get people to rethink all of those skills.
Now, I do have to mention, off camera, you noticed that I'm wearing two different earrings, and I wasn't even thinking about it this morning. There's a long story behind why I'm wearing two different earrings, but you noticed that right away. Would you say that the past couple of years, this has just become ingrained in you, where you've just been able to pick up and be much more perceptive? Because you're the first person, I've been doing this for months now, you're the first person to have noticed that.
I guess there are very, very few downsides to my line of work, but one of them is I can't shut it off. And I'm noticing, I'm looking around all the time. I'm looking for things that I can remember, things that jump out at me, so that when I have to recall certain situations, I'll say, I remember she had a pink sweater and she was wearing two different earrings. Because in the world of crime, if I ever had to be an eyewitness, I need to have those small details to be able to pull, to be able to say, well, that witness, that person had a butterfly tattoo on their neck and I noticed it when they were looking at me. So the line that I always use in all of my classes, small details make a big difference.
Nice. Jenny, tell us about the upcoming Women in Philanthropy Conference, and Amy will be speaking more there. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we're having a conference on March 13th, which is next Thursday, and Amy will be starting the conference off in the morning at 8, and it's the conference is called Growing Philanthropy, New Visions, New Voices, and it will be offered for women and men who are involved in philanthropy in the Western Massachusetts area. And we, are hoping to drum up some excitement and are excited about Amy's program. And, it should be a great event.
What are you most looking forward to this conference? What message do you want to get across to women?
I am so excited not only to be speaking at a women's conference, but women in philanthropy, because these are the people behind the cherished institutions that make them thrive, they make them part of the community, and they encourage other people to support these really important institutions. And the way they do that is by interacting with people. And as I said previously, perception, anybody who interfaces with people or the public, perception is so much of what they do. So I'm really excited to share my program with all these women who are making so much happen in the communities in Western Massachusetts.
I'm excited to go, and I may even wear my mismatched earring just for the fun of it. Amy Herman and Jenny Papa-George, thank you so much.
Thank
you.